Yo, what's up guys? Another Siege video. So I haven't been doing too many of those. This is actually a team I started using slightly different before. I used to use this with the Robo, but now in this case I make Tomoe moves first. And therefore Tomoe also has the best scaling for, or well, the best like speed, how do you say it? Like speed ticking for also using the S3 before anything on the enemy side moves as well. And then I use a pretty decent consistent stripper on the Trix, which also adds in a little bit more damage from it. Am I really liking this team? It's still kind of like in the phase where, okay, like could work kind of if they land everything. Otherwise, it doesn't look that crazy. So I might still look for a replacement or just stop using this team altogether. But last two sieges, or at least the two sieges before where I used this team with the Robo, they both failed because the Robo just decided not to strip, and then my Amber completely missed everything, and then it completely didn't work out. But this one, in this case, did work out. However, where I can still use the Robo is, of course, in this team, I did have a Narsha being pretty fast and outspeeding me. I'm not sure if that Narsha would have actually killed me. The Robo is like a decent-ish tanky. I'm not sure if Narsha went for skill 2 on the Robo. Might have been a little bit bad, but in the end, I don't think it would have been that much of a issue. Also, if this was like a really difficult siege, I would probably put faster runes on that Robo. Then I hit with a Dark Geralt, which I've never seen on defense. I'm also not sure if it would be good on defense, but in this case, it didn't really get that much playtime. I would say in this case, it's maybe better to go for a Trix, or not a Trix, Tris in the slot of Jung Pang, because there's no water units, but there is a fire unit. However, I was like, yeah, if Jogon survives by itself, it's not gonna do anything. It's just gonna die anyway. So it worked out with a Jung Pang. Then a hit with an Assure. We have seen like a decent amount of Assures on defense. I don't think it is a bad unit. It is a little bit one-sided of just tumbling everything into wind, and you can make a wind tank all of that stuff. Windy is maybe not the best of tanks against it anymore because of the windy nerf. But then again, I think it is a pretty fine unit on defense at the moment, especially if it takes a few extra turns. But then again, this Feng Yang, this Leo and everything is just way too tanky, so you're not going to be killing that anytime soon. But if you're thinking about like a team without any LDs, like the team you see in front of you, it doesn't look that bad, except for the fact that it doesn't have any RNG armor breaks. And if it doesn't have any RNG armor breaks, it's just kind of bad. Plus, this Feng Yang was just casually doing like 8k per hit all the time for just a defense break and an attack buff on wrong element. Yeah, the unfair bear is still very much unfair. This unit just does a stupid amount of damage. So it's also specifically built to counter the fire units in the first place. It has like a lot of, well, it doesn't necessarily have minus fire, but it's just so crazy tanky. It gets A to B for getting hits in, and the Leo is minus fire though, and of course the Alaya, which is probably the most tanky unit that I have runed up altogether throughout all units that I have runed up. Just close to like a 500k efficient HP, which is just like a stupid amount. That's also why I still don't care for going like a lot. I've been asked the question before, it's like, why don't you go for a Feng Yang lead? Because then Alaya also has defense lead. I don't need it. She doesn't die. Plus the fact I would like to get her hit anyways, because then she gets the passive in and she gets more skill for. Then we saw this team, kind of an interesting way to use a Julian. The only thing is, you're most likely not going to be outspeeding a Giana anyways. Plus, yeah, Julian's not gonna solo that. And they had a full tower of this, so I have a few more Sonias. Well, I actually have 2 Sonios. I have 3 Adrianas. I could do the last hit also with a Siri. The only thing is with the Siri, if that is a Swift Chandra, you might not speed gap that much and don't kill that easily, but this definitely didn't work. Then a Sylvia hit, which was pretty interesting. We haven't seen too much. I think it's called Chakra in the middle, the Indra on wind. I forgot that he pushed back on the skill 1, which was actually a little bit dangerous because I was like, okay, I just have to kill the Thessarian before my Acroma leaves the battlefield, and then from there we're gonna be good to go, because then the Belial and the Camilla can easily clean up. Well, it was not that easy. Like, he did do a good amount of damage. Also, if you have good additional damage artifacts on your Sylvia, she does do a little bit of chip damage. She actually didn't have that at all, otherwise she wouldn't be hitting like 300 something. So I'm not sure what kind of artifacts he's putting on his Sylvia, but if he had better additional damage artifacts on his Sylvia, I would have probably been in a bad spot, because that could definitely do a lot more damage than that. And the chip damage is actually working in quite well. So Moment that my Camilla would have been Oblivion, I would have been in a really bad spot. So this was not the safest teams by all means. This was definitely not. And this Acroma is like full tank. So we did get him stunned at the right moment where this thing took the turn. Otherwise, would have probably been screwed as well. But yeah, from there it worked out and it was like, okay, from here it's probably really easy. Even if the Acroma dies, it's probably fine. Like, shouldn't be an issue. But still, actually, the Chakra was doing a decent amount of work on pushing things back. It's because here the Acroma dies, but the pushbacks are on the skill 1. And since you always team up with the skill 1, he actually did have a decent amount of pushback. So sure, on the skill 2s, I didn't really care, but the skill 1s actually did lower my A to B for a decent amount, which actually was a little bit interesting to see. It was definitely not that bad of a team. Like, if it had, I would say, a bit better rune quality, it could have actually given me some trouble for that. Also, what you can see over here, my unit is actually slowly dying, which is a super tanky Camilla in the first place, which I would say is actually a pretty interesting team. I'm curious to see if we're going to see more of these kind of teams, because in the end, it was definitely not that bad. Like, I did make it work because of a bunch of freezes, and I think I procced a few times at the end to get... It didn't get the freeze over there, but did get a good amount of healing in back. The pushbacks definitely were the ones that I was like, okay, those pushbacks definitely did work. In the end, if I do kill it, then there's less skill 1s because he starts doing a lot more skill 2. And he does get himself stunned, and then we do kill it in the end, but... Wow, it was a good team. So then another team. People try to put Giana on defense. I don't think Giana is fitting for defense. It's just, no, that's... I can't really see a world where this would make enough sense that I would be like, yeah, no, that this is actually good. Because it's just Hey Gang, man. Whatever you use, Hey Gang. If I used Hey Gang with a Rika and a Balanus, it would have worked. Using this, it works. Giana's just having a bad time against Hey Gangs. Unless you have something in your whole draft that, or in your defense, that also would counter Hey Gang at the time that Giana does her stuff. Can't really think of anything. That would be the only way that I would say, like, okay, you can put Giana's on defense, but otherwise, no, not really. It's just too hard. Hey Gang is just too good for giving bar to the whole team, and from there you just simply take over that whole match and you start clearing everything. And then a team like this, I think this is also one of those teams, like, if you have a Hey Gang, you only need Hey Gang and free to play net 5. So it is also one of those easiest to rune things if you do have a Hey Gang. And by now, especially for the Siege tryhards, they have multiple Hey Gangs, because we have been using this against Sylvia's and a bunch of other things. So definitely more people will be having this. And then for my final hit of today, also using the Nyx, and yes, also showcasing the runes. And yes, I kind of overdid it because I didn't want to lose with Nyx. But it's one of those things, like, Nyx can be used in 2 different ways. Either with dots and then prolonging dots, or you use it next to a provoke and then you prolong the provoke. So if you can put it next to a Sean and then let's say a... So Sean in that case, the light paladin, not like that fire, what's it called? Phantom Thief. So that could work. This case kind of overdid it on the runes. And I'm also using it next to a Bloodja. And the reason for Bloodja is Bloodja skill 3 has a really big stack of amount of additional, or not the additional damage, but an amount of dots. So it's like 6 dots right away, which are normally 2 turns, but then they're going to be 3 turns. And then the Mugwall or Mugwang was also pretty fast. Could have placed a Rika in that slot as well. So I did outspeed everything. That was the main thing. Did get a Despair Stone over there. Did get good amount of dots, so those are 3 turn dots already right away, so that's a lot of damage. If we then do this skill, look at the amount of dots, man. That is just, like, freaking insane. Those are so many dots, you know, on that whole unit. So I would say maybe Rika would have been more interesting for the slow than the Bloodja, but I also was like, okay, let's say that something does get, like, a late moment healing up, or not the healing up, but the soul protect up. Bloodja skill 2 can actually strip, so therefore I didn't want to go for the Bloodja skill 2 as of yet. Also, the Byuncho is fully focusing on Nyx, which is a little bit tanky, but I would say that the other fire units were even more tanky, also because of the HP lead. But as you can see, because of the Mugwang, all of that damage from both the Nigong and the Byuncho are pretty much like near nullified. So in this case, I can strip over here, but if I didn't get that additional turn, I would have been able to strip with this one over here as well, if it didn't get double resisted. But probably 100 res on that unit. I'm not sure how much accuracy was on that S2. I think I focused more on the accuracy S3. But in the end, it did work out. Would I really recommend to use Nyx offense, however? I'm not too sure about that. Like, sure, it kind of works this way. If you want to make it work with, like, a Jean, you could make your whole team like 100 res. from the Sean lead, which is 41 resistance, and then you put a Rika next to it or something like that, and then you have a little bit of healing from the Sean itself. It is an option if you want to go a little bit safer. I would probably go for a Sean, Nora, and then a Nyx. I think that would be a team, especially in lower ranks, if you're fighting a lot of Björnjol's kind of tank kind of things. Then you could definitely go for a Jean, Nyx, and a Nora. That would definitely be a decent option. But would I really recommend to use it that much? It is okay of a unit, but it's not that great. Like, the thing is, the moment you miss something, let's say you miss a provoke, you're missing out on 3 turns provoke. Like, it becomes such a big gap for, okay, normally you would hit like 2-turn provoke or not. It's like, okay, it's a big gap, but if it makes it 3 turns and one unit is just enabling on that 3 turns, then it's just a really big gap. Whereas you could have placed, like, let's say in that team, another daughter or another like healer or another unit that could maybe do something. Whereas now you're betting everything on your units next to the Nyx to land their shit. If they don't land their shit, it's going to be bad. So I would say it is usable. Is it really great? Not really. How would they make Nyx? Like, people have been asking me, is like, how would you buff Nyx? To be honest, simplest buff would probably be give him Speed Awakening. That would definitely be an option where you could say, like, okay, give him Speed Awakening and he would be a something. Or you could up the rates on his skill 3 or just completely rework his skill 3 or make his Awakening, make him his S2 guaranteed land, or not guaranteed land, but like 100% activation. Because now it's like an 80% activation or some weird shit. So there's a bunch of options for him to be buffed. To be honest, I think I'll still use mine just a little bit on arena defense, and that is going to be about it. So in offense-wise, this is probably as much Nyx as we're going to see, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab, which has the dungeon guide archive and the video guide archive, which contains all of the guides that you need. Hope to see you there.